Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you'd be so kind. I'd like to call the meeting of the Parks to order. And everybody is either here, coming, or not online, so we don't have to go through the roll call jazz. Mr. Chamberlain has been excused. He is doing God's work. Thank you very much. Are there any corrections, additions, or deletions to the minutes? Yes, there are. We are not going to approve those minutes tonight. Is there anything that anybody has seen that they need to address on this? And I'll explain it to you next month as to why we need to get the minutes a little more detailed, and we're going to go through that with Carolyn. But is there anything anybody else needs to?
I didn't see anything.
Okay, great. Okay. We have no parks usage requests at this juncture. There will be one coming. There's one pending. I'm going to tell you what's going on, and it's been an ongoing 14 emails later about running a pond ice hockey tournament at Benedict Pond on February 14th in the afternoon. And some guy wants to do it, and he talked about insurance, all this, and I've been going back and forth with him for a month. And basically what we found out is because DCR owns it, they want to make sure that there's insurance. Well, if, as I kindly said to this guy, if DCR owns it, meaning it's state owned, then the state would have liability insurance on it.
Right.
So I'm not paying $500 for a special one-day event thing. So we're going back and forth for that. So I told him I didn't even want to talk to him until we have this as a clean, so nobody gets hung up on the details. But the problem was they tried to do it last year, but it was too warm. So they ended up at Berkshire School because it wasn't cold enough to make ice.
Can I just bring something up? We only have jurisdiction over town parks.
Yeah.
That's not a town park.
Well, the other
End of
interesting thing is
conversation.
evidently Great Barrington we own half of it.
That's fine, Great Barrington, mate. It's not a town park, so the park
So I
directors
just,
have no
I wanted,
jurisdiction.
I know, Steve, I just want people to know.
Yeah, no, I get
Because
it.
they're gonna ask us to support it and let people know that there's an event that the parks may be part and participle of, whatever. I'm just letting you know. It's just a heads up. Okay. Parks Care and Maintenance, Mr. Aberdale.
Instructed by Carolyn to speak up a little louder.
Good.
Is that microphone on? I didn't turn it on, so if you turn it on, the green light should go on.
Also, when you go by Cumberland Farms, look to your left and there's a brand new bench there. That's what the benches are gonna look like that the guy's been making out of the concrete forms and all the wood.
On the same side of the street as coming.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, so, Memorial Field, the bids are back. We had, I think, $500,000 from CPA. I think
Correct.
that was from. The main Memorial Field came in at $567,000. So we have more than enough money to get started. I think we'll talk to Karen about putting on the agenda for next meeting to vote on an additional $67,000.
I think there's a reason, if you understand that when we asked for it 2.5, almost 3 years ago for CPA, a lot of the prices have gone up.
Of course.
So I've seen a breakdown of everything and some of the stuff, instead of ordering prefab dugouts, Chip Paul's gonna make them, which is that's gonna save us some of that money, but there's gonna be an overage. And it's all reasonable, but we won't need that. We don't need it right now to get to where we need to
If
go.
I could, the contract isn't just like one lump sum building a park. It's so many units of excavation, so many units of sod, so many units of fencing. And the units are always estimated a little bit high too, so that we always have enough money. So there are some things that can be taken on that we can bring the cost down. But I think this, when we contract and we would like to contract, we're in the process of contracting, but we won't exceed the $500,000 until we have approval from the commission.
Okay,
Can we ask a question now?
yeah, don't know. If you'd like to ask a question, go for
So, at the next meeting, you want us to approve the final sum?
The additional sum. The money, there's already $500,000.
No, but I mean, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
So are we going to be able to discuss some of the items that are in that partially make up that overage?
I'd rather not. Because I think when you start picking apart a contract, that contractor put a bid in on all these quantities, you start cut quantities in half. It opens up the right to renegotiate the other deals. So, you know, they shouldn't unbalance their bids, but sometimes they carry the mobilization and we'll say a dugout item. And now all of a sudden you get rid of that, he doesn't have the mobilization money, he needs $2,000 or something like that for mobilization on another, so it's just a science, like pick and choose what you wanna get rid of.
So what you're saying is that if there are things in there which, in the intervening time when that was drawn, that we might have some, different opinions about now, we shouldn't discuss it all?
Well, we can do whatever you want, but if that's the path we're gonna go, we should stop contracting this guy, settle this out, and build the thing next year.
And wait another 18 months.
Because I think it opens up the contractor to having some discussions about, reevaluating everything. So,
Wouldn't something like that come under the heading of a change order and we have to pay for that? Is that what you're telling me?
it does, but, a lot of our contracts are assembled by the Mass DOT itemization of, like excavation and things like that. They follow Mass DOT standard. The Mass DOT standard allows you to renegotiate if quantities go up or down by more than 20%.
Alana,
Based on when we first got the funds from CPA, do you feel like the overage is an appropriate escalation of the cost?
I do, and because we also added things too. Okay.
We added to things that we were requesting.
We added, like, originally, the warning track went, 2/3 of the way around the field, the outfield. We were running a sidewalk down to the youth center. But now if someone wanted to walk around, then they'd have to walk on the grass. So we continue a walking trail from there back to home plate. So if someone wants to go down there in off times and use it as a walking track, they can.
So I would be more curious, rather than deconstructing the bid, I'd be more curious just to have a very brief summary of what the project looks like, what was originally asked for and where we are now. Just to have a sense, an understanding of what it is that we're paying for, and I feel good about that.
Yeah, I think like Karen said, before my time, when the CPA approved the money and there was an estimate in front of them, I'm sure there was an estimate that backed up that
Yeah.
$500,000. And we all know
36 months
material
out.
and steel and things like that have gone in
Totally,
the last 2 years.
totally.
I'll see if I can come up with something like that.
That'd be great.
So one more question, how does that factor into the discussion, or does it, of Olympian medals and the softball stuff?
So that's the next piece of this.
Oh, okay.
Can I just hold on, because someone has emailed me and said they can't hear. Carolyn or Mark or Devin, can you just tell us whether you can hear us by just raising your hand? Our people? So Devin says he can hear fine, Carolyn says she can hear fine, Mark. Eileen, I think it's gotta be your sound, because everyone else in the audience said that they can hear.
right, and I'm not taking questions during the meeting from other persons.
One question.
Yes.
You brought up that some of the stuff might be done, in-house, like the dugouts or.
The dugouts won't be done, are not planned to be done in-house, but there's certain things that, like the taking down of the dugouts, the taking down of the backstop, things like that. We're working with the contractor to see what he carries for value, because there's not a line item for taking it down. We bury that in the cost of the new one.
Right.
So if there's some things like that, that can be done, and obviously it costs the town money to do it if we do it ourselves. So if there's a savings there that we can add to the books here, we'll do that.
Correct, I'm just,
Right.
I guess I was just more, wanted to be sure that if there's a design for what is gonna be constructed, that if it gets done in-house, it doesn't, isn't done in inferior or, a lesser quality
If
to
we do it
save money.
in-house,
What?
if you're saying if we do it in-house.
Yeah, at least to have the standard
Yep.
of what was being
Design.
presented, designed. As a,
Yeah, well,
still be the guide. for
That's our that's what our aim is.
We'll make sure.
Okay.
Go ahead, John.
So as part of this bid package, Olympia Metals, the redoing the softball field was coupled into this. And that alternate came in at $102,000, which, I shared with Karen and had conversations with a couple others about it, which is quite a lot of money for what we need to do there. So
Is that the practice field or the main one?
No, the girls softball field, the major field.
and that didn't even include 2 new dugouts.
Right,
So-
it was ridiculous.
What we've done is, we've not accepted the alternate. We told the contractor we're not gonna accept it, and we've taken that on with the parks, the buildings and grounds group. So if any of you have been down there, we've already cut in the infield. We spread the clay that we've had. We have 2 loads of clay coming this week. I have Chip Paul, who does the maintenance down at Memorial Field, is looking for some work over the winter as a contractor. So we're looking to hire him to build 2 new dugouts that will take
Right.
down.
Mhm.
So hopefully we're gonna still get to where we wanna be at a fraction of the cost.
Right. When I saw the number, all I could think of is we had done 2 Little League fields 2 years, 3 years before for $25,000, and now they want $107,000 to a softball field. I was like, this is just not happening. So, plus there's been some new, tools, power things that have been procured by DPW that can be used to flatten things and roll things and do some more work around that. Tom, to what Tom was talking about earlier, in the sense of depending on how and what the Little League feels and getting getting things chewed up and raked out. So we've got the other appropriate, like, what are they called? The skegs? What are they? The power
We
rakes?
have a power rate.
Yeah.
We had in the budget to replace, our Kubotas, so, that's on order, it's gonna be here later this year. The power rate was part of 2 or 3 other attachments. So we're waiting for the power rate to come in, because that will allow us to clean up the other field. And having plenty of conversations, I think, with Karen about taking care of the fields after the season. We will sign off on this with the groups that you are using, and then we will take care of them after the season. And then we'll, turn back over to them for the season, and then we'll have a sign off to accept it back.
Which is Tom, what you've been looking at. Beginning from your thought and what we needed to do, we needed some tools, we needed some time, we needed some budget space. So that's what Joe and I have been working on all summer, is how do we accomplish that? So we don't end up into this war of the worlds between Little League and the town and everything else. So I think we've made huge strides. Joe and his crew have done huge
It
work.
moves us to even during the season, if we need to run down there and power rake the fields once a month, once every 3 weeks. I mean, we got this investment, let's keep it up. So that's the direction we're heading. On that subject, the Little League has contacted me. They finished their end of season cleanup, and we're looking to get together later this week. I haven't had a date and time to do the official transfer per your agreement.
Right,
So that will happen. I'll let you know, Carolyn.
okay. Bill?
So, Joe, with the soccer field down there, like, are we thinking about, some of taking the trees out, like we walked around, is there any talk?
Well, there's been no discussion about doing anything any further. If I remember the way we talked about what we were gonna do is we were gonna try it. See what came up, then someone would report back and talk about what's the next step we wanna do down there.
There's been no input from anybody in reference to going anything further on the soccer field. If there are issues or concerns, I would strongly suggest that you put it together in a presentation. Let us know what you're thinking and how you're thinking.
So there is money in the parks budget, to do stuff. Whatever we wanna do, just like the ladies did with, Grove Street, they took on the initiative, we came up with a plan and we purchased the equipment and things like that. I mean, what's the next thing the commission wants to do with the money you have?
What are you thinking about, Bill? Over just a quick overview.
Well, it's just what we talked about before, that we have half a field now, and to expand that into a full field in some fashion that fits in there. I mean, when we took a walk down.
Is there enough usage that you're satisfied with the usage over the summer that we want, that's the next step for us?
The few times I went down there were lots of people on that field, right?
Yeah, there's gonna be people there tonight.
It's being used 3 and 4 times a week, because I get little texts from the the Ecuadorian connection, and,
And I think if it was a full-size field, it would definitely be used. for
Okay, so that's
Fire
cool.
and Newsweek as well.
great, so why don't you guys do a punch list about what you think needs to happen, bring it to the next meeting, because this is a perfect time to consider that as a commission, as to, you know, we did that. It seems like it's getting used. I think, you know, the field of dreams theory, if you build it, they will come. I think that works,
No question.
you know,
Can I
so,
ask you one question? Because I've been down there playing. When I laid out the original, the field, which we went with this summer within the space, I put, there were stakes there and we used, and I brought out donated some corner flags. And, there's only one corner flag left. I don't know where the other 3 disappeared to, but,
they're in timeout.
Pardon?
They're
Yeah,
probably in
But
timeout.
I guess, I think it'd be good to try to at least get those corners marked and established. So we can make it, we don't have to go through the whole process again next spring of, you know, laying it out again. If you
Could
can.
we cut sod? Could you actually cut the, you know, like a line cutter to make,
The lines kind of, I looked at it, there's some are still there, but even putting some pins in the ground that you can find.
Well, you're asking to reestablish the half field that's there now as
Right.
Bill calls it.
Yeah.
And then you're also talking, you wanna redo the field. What is it?
Well, what I'm trying to say is, the field is the length of an official field, the one we created with the 2 goals at either end. The only problem is the width. It's as wide as a regulation football field. And to be a soccer field official, it would have to be 14 yards wider towards
so,
the woods. So that's, you know, any other configuration would mean moving infrastructure that's already there, like the light posts or fences. So we don't wanna do that. So
Mm-mm.
the only way we can go is across the path, and it's like 14 yards.
into
like
the
you said.
river?
No, not into the river, into the,
The river's far
the
away.
river's a long ways away.
But the river walk you're talking about,
Part of the walk would have to get pushed as well.
that's gotta be a huge expense, wouldn't you think? I'm not saying I'm against it, I'm just wondering how much that would
Well,
cost.
it'd be worth looking at. I think that, from what I've been able to see, is the most of the trees that we would be looking at moving are really stuff that's gonna wanna be taken down.
You ain't gonna move them. You gotta cut them down and dig them up.
Yeah, no,
Well-
I understand that.
That's all in floodplain.
Pardon?
That's all in. floodplain.
Yeah.
So it would have to get looked at by the conservation
Well,
commission.
it's more than that.
Yeah,
There's
they're not
things you
gonna,
can Look at, but you gotta engineer what you're cutting, and what you're filling and stuff.
Well, I could lay it out to where it would have to go, and then we could look at
If
it.
I could make a suggestion that you do as Karen suggested, you come back with usage and what you wanna do, get the commission to say, hey, it would behoove us to turn around and look
Look at
at
it.
this.
Mhm.
A full-size soccer field, then you give me that charge of duty, says, how do we do with it?
Great.
And then I'll work with a consultant and then we'll come up with a plan, how do we fit it in there at a preliminary stage and come back to you.
That
And
sounds
let's
great.
do this, you know, over the next month or so. So, cause if there's conservation permits, you're talking a lengthy process here.
Right.
Sure.
So, you know, I mean, that would be the next step to get what you're looking for.
Right.
But if you talk about moving the river walk, which again, I'm not against, I think that's a conversation Joe has to have with Chris
Yeah.
and other people, because
and
that may
Concom
be
and
just
everything
not
else.
cost effective.
Right.
Yeah.
Alana,
Well, so first of all, can we have an agenda item on the next month's agenda to discuss this? And then, you know, I'm happy to help go down there and take a
So,
look.
so let me just caution here. So now we have 3 people.
yeah,
No,
That's a
I don't-
sub,
Yeah,
no,
no, we
even
have
2
to-
people is a subcommittee
we
and
have
has
to
to post a
post it,
meeting if you're
right.
gonna move. So if one of you do it, don't talk to the other 2 and come back to us, that's fine. If 2 or 3 wanna do it, which is fine, then it's gotta be a posted meeting with minutes.
Quick.
what did it, stop,
A quorum
no,
is 5?
stop,
No,
no,
it has
no,
nothing to
no,
do with
stop.
quorum.
It
Okay.
has
Yeah.
nothing to do with quorum.
Yeah.
This is why it's very important that you understand, you need, if one humanoid would like to look at this and come back with recommendations or whatever, what the general perusal is, that would be good. Once you get 2 or 3, then it's posted, minutes have to be taken, and it becomes a real problem.
But
Joe,
for,
could I go down there with you? Like, could we walk around? Would that be okay? So I can get some ideas to put on a punch list and then I'll put it in and you guys can discuss
Yeah,
it.
that's perfect.
Would that be okay? Like sometime in the next month?
Yeah, I don't think it's really, the next step is you and I or me and anybody walking around out
Right.
there. I think it's,
I'm just telling you what we would like.
Well, okay, well, that's fine, you know,
Okay.
maybe that might be better part of once the commission says move forward.
Mhm.
And maybe what we do is we set up a time down there when we walk it as part of the meeting.
Yep.
And then we have the consultant there and they can hear everything firsthand.
And
That's
then
right.
move
So if
forward.
you two guys turn on, and again, I think what Karen's asking you to bring to the commission is, hey, we had this many days in the summer, this many days with lights, we had this many people show up there, and sell it to the commission that you wanna do it. And then when, as soon as y'all say yay, the majority says, then we'll take that next step. Perfect.
Okay.
Alana,
But to just clarify, there's no problem with each of us going individually to do our own research and come back
Absolutely.
to discuss it as an educated crew at the next meeting, right? Which would
Absolutely fine.
Behoove all of us to educate ourselves about
Mind
what's happening.
participating.
Yeah.
To, you know, people.
go take a walk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, Mr. Gibbons.
Tom, when you laid out the field, you did not put any marks in at the corners or half field or
No,
anything?
there was just a stake, there was the wooden stakes that we,
I
They were
staked it
hidden,
out
we're out
early
there.
on.
So,
I staked it out early on to get the biggest field we could get in there.
well, what I was gonna say is that one of the things that we could do would be to put in metal markers
and,
that can be found with a metal detector.
correct.
Cause that's how we do the fields up at the high school, you know, particularly the football field where you have to do every 5
Well, like I
yards.
said, there was 4 corner flags
Yeah.
that were there.
Yeah,
3 of them are gone, 1 is still there, and there's still some of the lines when we lined it.
well, if you put
So
in,
I could probably find
put
it,
in,
get it pretty close. You know, just putting some spikes in the ground.
yeah, well, didn't it have to be that? I mean, they make metal stakes for
Right.
that purpose
So
of
we-
marking it,
It's
and
just
then
like
you
that.
use a metal detector.
We do that for the cemetery plots too.
There you go.
So,
So you know what to do.
yeah, I think that's all the next step.
Okay, I think we have come to the next step. I would like to make this so it's somewhat feasible and manageable. Bill, since you brought it up, go take a walk. If Joe happens to join you, marvelous. The rest of you, if you want to go take a walk, and then you can come back with a knowledged background. Okay?
But only one at a time, you can't go in.
Don't go as a herd of turtles.
Well, no, that's not true. So if you're not going,
Just don't talk.
if we don't have an official subcommittee, like Karen has not said the 2 of you are in charge of this.
Right,
You do wanna go together, that's
Right.
terrific,
have a blast.
but the only one coming back to us is Bill.
Right, so what I'm saying is it might make sense for me, since I laid it out.
It may make a lot of
to
sense,
Go with somebody to.
but I don't want
show
to
you
know
what
how
we
much
got.
sense it makes.
Well, no, but I mean,
You
so that
can-
other people can be
Eh,
educated.
Well,
So
education
you
is
know
good.
what's out there.
Information is power.
Yeah.
Does
Well,
everybody
then
else
go
get my
about that a
drift
lot.
here?
And thanks, Joe, also, the practice field, you know, we talked about with this, the temporary, I looked at it and it's been growing in, you know, the infield area. It's actually starting to look like grass again.
What are you
know.
talking about?
The far field, the.
Can we
practice-
stay?
Maybe that's an accident.
Well,
That's
it's
still a
good,
softball
but
field,
it-
don't still be
but-
taken out.
No,
and the
Let's just
bases
stay
is-
where we're at, okay?
yeah, but they get taken out for the winter. though.
Right,
Yeah.
so what I'm saying is it seemed, that was one of the issues earlier in the year, and it's less of an issue now, but it's.
Right, but
Okay.
they're gonna be dug out again when they go to play softball.
Well, maybe.
That's the way that's gonna go, because the primary focus is we are going to make sure that the girls softball has a spot that they can do what they gotta do. Mr. Aberdale, do you have anything else you'd like to chat about?
Give you a couple more.
Oh, I'm sure.
You don't want them, we don't have to.
No, go right for it, please. Feel free.
Grove Street, your equipment's been ordered, it's got a tentative schedule the late date of March. We told them to hold it for then, and we looked at the installation directions, and we, as a building as a ground group, may do the installation. Our goal is to have the parking in this year before winter, there's no dead pine tree. So we are moving forward with that.
Joe, in reference to Grove Street and what you plan to do, I know that the Flynn's are here because they have, they want to make a quick comment about, there's going to be a walkway, an accessible walkway, yes?
That was in that overall schematic,
Yep.
but the only part that you as a commission have agreed to move forward with is the park equipment and the parking lot.
So we need to agree on that accessibility issue?
Well, that walkway would be, and the one you're talking about is the walkway that goes down by the basketball court that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't, because we didn't decide to expand the basketball pickleball court that 8 feet to make it to.
Right,
But could we do the walkway and not at this point?
Absolutely.
Does it, so how much would we have to approve to do that?
I
Do
think
you have
it's
any
within
idea?
the budget.
Is it in the budget? I thought it was.
Well, I thought we approved was $100,000 to do the park equipment.
Right,
And hire the installation. I think if we did all that back at that point in time, we were talking like 70-something thousand. We since got a 20% discount on the material. And we also got, if we do it with our guys, it's not gonna hit the capital budget, and maybe we'll do a little bit overtime. But we're clearly gonna be under the $100,000, so I think with the money you've already approved, we might be able to do that.
so if I make a motion now to approve the handicap accessible walkway, we wouldn't have to approve any more money at this point.
At this point, yeah. So just so we're clear, that walkway, when you drive in there, it went to the right. It went to the right on the downhill side of the basketball court, and then it went along the tree line.
Yeah.
And then it kind of stopped.
Yeah.
So it'd be just like a path that we can walk so far, turn around and come back.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
That we put in
That
as
we put
much
in.
of an accessible
Yes.
walkway as we can.
I'll second it.
Okay, now. You get 2 minutes, way out of, I don't do this normally, but I want you to say what you need to say.
Well, I like the high name from Hydro.
Hi.
Remember me?
Oh, yeah.
What dog is called? I'm so glad that you are abiding by the ADA federal regulations and building ramp that it will make sure it accesses the court. And I hope it's not like the Bridge Street, the DOT bridge debacle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I have a question.
Let her finish there, Dad.
And do you have like a intuition, cause my physical therapist wants me to use the court, walk the court.
Walk the court? Yeah, you'll be able to walk the court.
So it's the handicap accessible, the ramp, I wanted to go into the court.
Well, that,
The walkway didn't show that, but it means to make a ramp to get into the court.
Is that
Yes.
possible then?
okay,
Good.
great, thank you.
Great, thank you.
That probably won't be a this year thing.
I'm well about that.
Okay.
I'm not ready to walk in the winter.
Okay.
Anyway.
You know,
Me neither.
then the parking area will be like a blacktop milling parking area that's there like that, so, you know, that's very walkable, we're trying to develop the grade and stuff, so you can even walk down into the.
And use that.
area too. But the most that we use is supposedly a handicap.
Oh, really? And
Anything else, Meg?
it's so much easier with the rest, so thank you so much.
Okay, good. Mr. Flynn, did you have something you wanted to say?
She always said.
Isn't it nice when your children can do that? Okay, great.
Stanley Park.
We haven't voted.
What?
We haven't voted. To include
Including the
the
walkway.
and include the walkway. We had a motion and a second, no vote.
Is there anybody else who's got anything else they'd like to chime in on this? Great. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? It's unanimous. Yes.
Stanley Park, brought to our attention.
Oh, right.
There's a little bit of a facelift there, so we've been down there trimming the trees up a little bit, making it look pretty. We have 4 memorials down there now.
Which was found today.
So we're gonna turn around and try to consolidate those into one garden area.
That'd be nice.
Make it look, you know, it is kind of the entrance to the town, so just so you know, if you see some activity, that's what we're doing now.
They were there today cutting all sorts of trees and stuff. So is to take those memorials, combine them and put them into a memorial area.
Yeah, you know, one of them's got a pine tree, I'm sure it was planted as part of the memorial, it's, you know, 40, 50 feet tall, half dead, so we're not
It's
doing
going
anything
away.
on the surface like that, so. So just so you know, we're gonna be tucking away at that too. Last thing is national, or 2 things, National Grid, is in the process, been released to put the electrical pole in for Hoosie Playground and, Lake Mansfield. So once they're in, we're going to get an electrical contractor to get started.
We'll have service there, which would be great.
And Hoosie Dome, I shot Carolyn an email today about, Berkshire Drone and get that agreement going, so.
Yep. Oh, we had the dates from last, since last,
Put the agreement together, get it signed.
okay,
Names.
yes, go.
Because, you know, I've been asked by, different parents whose kids play basketball there, that last year the floor was very slippery. And I emailed you, I don't know if you saw it, but there's a special coating that the gym teacher at Du Bois recommended that their custodian uses. Just wanted to mention that there are, I
I
emailed
think
it to you.
the gentleman that does that work does the middle school floor
Does,
and the high school floor,
Okay.
yeah.
there were
So-
definitely complaints about slippery floors last year. I was at a game where a ref fell.
Well, it's funny because I'm there 4 times a week. We play pickleball on that floor, and I have a feeling that once it's been done, you know, that first fresh new coating, that's when it's pretty slippery. As the year goes on and more use, it stops being so slippery.
I think you find that when it's first done, you'll find it's almost sticky. And then what happens is, as it gets used, and if it doesn't get dust mopped, the dust makes it very slippery. The biggest problem, and people who live in Houston know, is when you're playing basketball there and the parents and.
Come in with
and the
grit on
parents
their
walk
shoes.
in, And a little bit of water gets tracked on that floor, and it's terrible.
Or during halftime when everyone
Everybody
comes
walks
out
in. So,
into the middle on.
And they don't, what bothers me about it is that the adults, the kids wear their basketball sneakers. It's the adults that go with their boots and everything else. If they honored that and didn't drops all over the floor with the wet.
Maybe we need more signage. Like,
Well, and the other question is, because when I used to run tournaments, halftime, no one goes on the court except
Yeah.
people in basketball sneakers.
I agree. I
Yeah.
see so many kids coming on the court with Crocs.
Right, exactly.
It's-
That causes a lot of problems. So we used to just say no, and the referees used to enforce that.
Yeah,
Yeah, they have
maybe
to.
it's something that. we
It
could
may be a league problem.
Remind Susie Hoops about.
Yeah. Karen, can I just ask one question? We started the discussion about working on the skate park. Can we put that on the next agenda? The last meeting, we started that discussion, but we said instead of spending.
Carolyn, can we please put that on the agenda for next month, November's meeting?
Thank you.
Thank you. And as well as, what else was the other thing we wanted to talk about?
Soccer.
The soccer field, that needs to go on down at Olympian Meadows. Mr. Gibbons.
Ropes at the lake, they're still in the water.
yeah, we'll get them out, yeah. I think you're taking them out, right?
I got my answer. It's just, I'm waiting for it to get a little colder.
Okay.
You can always dig through the ice.
Oh, what did you just say? You're waiting for it to get a little colder?
Just a little bit.
You need your scuba suit.
Bill, I'll be with you in the car with the heat on.
Wait, with the
If I see bubbles coming up, I'll.
All right,
Okay.
everybody calm down. Let's calm down. Julie.
Jill, just one question about the swings that we discussed, that doing of that missing swing. Is there any update on that?
I think it was installed today.
Oh,
So it was missing a swing, right?
good.
And I think we installed a handicap swing at Grove Street today.
Good.
Then maybe one other type of swing at Grove Street. So it should be outside.
Thanks, Bill.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Aberdale. Mr. Del Signore, what in the name of goodness gracious can we do for you today?
I'm on the agenda, so I'm
I
saying.
know that. Talk to me. What do you got?
What I have is, I just found out this morning about the meeting. Apologize for not having a complete report. That will be ready for the end of the week. I assume I'll send it to you, Karen.
Yeah, what I'd like you to do is you can send it to me. We'll distribute it to the commission, and then I would like you to be here next month to review the report with the commission in total, okay?
Sure. I can give you
Good.
just some quick news on the Housatonic Park, if that would be like as a
Quick
little.
news is always good.
Okay, so I decided this year to break down how we're recording attendance. So I broke it down to an hourly for the 5 hours that were open by having recording ages 1 to 7. These are fairly approximate when the attendants were checking for ages. So ranges between 1 and 7, then 7 and 14. So for the total duration of the total days of being open, which was 36, 3 of which we had rain days that were moved into the Hoosie Dome. But we had 271 total between ages of 1 and 7. We had 320 between ages of 7 and 14 for a total.
Over
of,
what period of time? How many, are you doing 36 days?
yeah, 36 days. having our attendees there. And with a total of 591 recorded during that. Now, that average works out better than last year's report, which I think was about 1.8 or something like that per hour of openness. We're at 3.8, so it increased a bit. And I really think that the drive to have some better marketing, and I would suggest for next year that we get on it earlier to mark it out and letting the community know. But I think it could potentially build some steam here. On the lakes, I could just briefly tell you, because I'm still tallying up that data, that attendance definitely was strong, and all in all, we were able to keep the lake open the entire time. And the only closures you really experienced was just due to weather.
Hold on, Mark, just a second. What?
I thought you said lake,
He did.
He did.
Mansfield.
but we're not talking about that this time.
First, you talked about.
He talked about
Oh, okay.
Housatonic Playground.
Okay, got it.
Now we're talking about Lake Mansfield, because Berkshire South takes care of both
Yeah, I
those.
didn't hear it switch.
All right, I want you to be with me.
There was a
Counselor.
period there you missed.
Yeah, go ahead, Mark. We're just
Yeah.
having a brain fade, no problem.
No problem. So and overall, looking at the ability that we had to cover for lifeguards, I'm very happy with what our crew was able to do, and our director of aquatics was able to maintain a really good high level of lifeguards there for the entire time. Other than that, I do have other recommendations that I'll put in the report. I'll get to you, and then I will be there in person on the next meeting to give you a more thorough conversation and then answer questions.
So it's Monday, November 13th, just so you know.
I will mark my calendar.
Super. Bill,
So I would just like to say that, I was down at the lake, when your new aquatics director did an in-service for the lifeguards, and it was great. It was really great. And
Yeah,
I commend you guys. You did, and every time I went down there, the lifeguards were on it, and you guys did a great job this summer.
I will share that with everyone. Yeah, they definitely deserve it, and I appreciate you mentioning that.
Yeah, they
Super.
they were good ambassadors for the town.
Great. Very glad to hear that. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'll see you next
Anybody?
month and let you get about
Yes,
your
sir.
business.
that'd be great. Just send it ahead of time, a couple of days so Carolyn can get it distributed out, okay?
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Okay, good night.
Good night. Is anybody here from Railroad Street Youth? Devin Wagner, his hand goes up. Let her rip.
Oh, hello. Can you hear me?
Hello. Go
Awesome.
ahead,
Okay.
Devin.
I don't really have that many things. Just a couple reminders. October 31st will be the last day that we're staffing the skate park. I will also have the report for you by next month's meeting for the season. Is there a specific place that I should be sending that to, emailing that to?
Yeah, send it to me, ksmith@townofgb.org.
Okay, awesome.
All right, and then I'll make sure it gets where it needs to go.
Awesome. And is there any during next month, would you guys like me to do any breakdown of the report, or do you guys just want to look at it?
No, I want you to present the report. We'll have
Okay.
something
Awesome.
that we'll hold and look, but I'd like you to be able to go over, and if somebody has some questions about usage or whatever you see, Also, do you have an overview of any incidents where the police were called or anything like that? Is that within that report?
I believe there should be a section with police reports. I don't believe, off the top of my head, I don't remember any incidents happening this season
Good.
with the police.
Glad to hear it.
So
That's marvelous.
yeah. Yes.
Great.
Yeah, other than that, the park's slowing down, so things are looking good.
All righty. Any questions, concerns, or issues from anybody here? Thank you very much, Devin. Appreciate it.
Thank you. You as well.
Okay. New business Memorial Field, I believe we just went over that, did we not? Mr. Meyer, you want to make some statement about the weeds?
Yeah, so so this summer, obviously I'm down at the lake a lot and I know a lot of people that swim there, and oftentimes people will come to me and talk to me about the weeds and also just from my own personal experience. But this year the weeds were really tough in the water, and Paul, I think you even sent out a thing that you've noticed that.
Yeah.
There are mats out there. I talked to one guy who was out there and he got what it's a safety situation, because sometimes if you're not experienced in that with that kind of swimming and you're swimming out on a vacation and all of a sudden you get caught in one of those mats, it can be scary and people can panic, and that's never a good place to be in the water. So I appreciate all the efforts that have been done to mitigate the flow of the water from the roads and from around the lake. But I think we really have to think about doing something more aggressive with the lake to get the weeds out. And I've talked to people in a variety of different departments in this town, and I think it's time for us, or I would hope that we can start discussing, like other towns in this county and around the country that use a weed harvester. There's a variety of different weed harvesters out there. And one used to be, I think there used to be one on Lake Mansfield. And you know, it's a lake that we are planning amazing things for that lake, you know, on the ground. And it would be really, it wouldn't be good for us as a organization, as a town, to have this great beach with a lake that's just filled with weeds. You know, I mean, I think we have to really consider the recreational element of that lake and how many people go swimming in that lake every single day, and the safety of them. I
Wait a minute, I gotta get this straight in my head. Are you talking about the beach or are you talking about the lake?
I just said the water, the lake, that I'm saying that we have done a lot of work with.
Right where the beach is.
Right, so, but if we have that great beach and the lake water is filled with weeds, and as the year went on, the water actually became more turbid with more algae, which I've been told is a direct indication that lake is eutrophying, which means that it's turning back into a swamp.
Mm-hmm.
We have to do something about that.
So let me ask you a question. Did you go to the Conservation Commission?
I've talked to people on the Conservation Commission, but I have not talked to the Conservation Commission personally, because I was told that I should first talk to our group here and get a recommendation that we would like the Conservation Commission that we would like to recommend the Conservation Commission to discuss this.
I think that's fine.
And you know something, I would just like to, I made up these things.
Joe, what were you gonna say?
Are you talking, Bill, that the weeds are within the boundary of the swim?
No,
They're not.
he's talking about the lake in
They're not-
general.
I'm talking more
Because-
of the mats.
Because Joe, people go out, all of kayakers and everything else. So there is a strong impetus in this town to conserve the natural beauty of that lake, and I totally support that. So I'd like us to think about, and I'd like to present to Concom, if possible, an idea where we're not just sucking up all the weeds. We have areas that are designated as recreation and areas that are designated as conservation areas that are not touched by a weed harvester. basically outlined the area there that's hatched would be where we let the weeds grow. And, of course, this is just my idea, but have an area in the lake that is conservation designated and have another area in the lake that is recreation designated and make them have them side by side. And I think that we could do that and have a really progressive use of a town resource.
I get that.
Yeah, Paul.
No, wait, before we go anywhere, you need to understand that the people that will make this decision is the Conservation Commission, correct? Joe, are those the people that, whose responsibility is the lake bottom? Okay, I just want to make
I
sure.
think there's two groups, if you don't mind. I think there's a Lake Mansfield Task Force, which you're part of,
Yeah,
and, right.
That's just an advisory.
Oh,
group.
let me finish. Who I think has a lot of say over what happens at the
Right.
lake. I think you guys are advisory, but I think well respected. And then ultimately the Conservation Commission, I think what Bill's asking for, which is us to ask the Conservation Commission to
so.
look into it,
Yeah.
is perfectly appropriate.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we get that we don't have any jurisdiction. We can say, look, we think because of all the money that's being spent on Lake Mansfield and everything else that's being done, that we would like the lake to be not a pain, not dying. Paul?
Just to back up what Bill's been saying. Several months ago, there was a presentation of what was going to be done up there.
Right.
At that time, it was on Zoom, I believe. I asked a question regarding the weeds. What plans are there for taking care of that problem? The answer I got was, I didn't get an answer. So very recently, same thing. I asked, and Chris responded to me and said he would pass it on. So I didn't really get an answer. Finally, Christine Ward did answer me, rather very nice and very long email in describing the fact that years ago it was the milfoil. Now it's a different kind of weed that kind of like she implied that it feeds the aquatic species in there. That's all well and good, but once again, there was no answer. The town is spending a hell of a lot of money to preserve this lake, but you can't preserve this lake from the natural progression of eutrophication unless you interfere with it. And that's what Bill is talking about. So if there is any way that this group here
Right.
can work with whatever group is responsible for this, I think we need to do it. The sooner the better before, and we're going to do it anyway, I know. Plunge into spending millions of dollars on something which unfortunately maybe none of us will be around to see. The lake will be dead. And you don't have to worry about a swimming area. And the only reason we have a swimming area is that we spend money
Right.
to put a barrier down to prevent the weeds from growing there. It's the only reason. If we didn't put that barrier down, you would have no swimming area.
So
So
I think
I will support whatever Bill.
Right. I think Bill's point is, I think what we need to do is poke the bear.
So, and I would just like to say that there are two ways that are kind of accepted to control weeds right now. And that is with chemicals or with a weed harvester. And I personally want to say, we do not want to use chemicals.
Right.
And as a group, I'd like to say that because, lakes that do use chemicals, it just basically takes the problem, puts it down on the ground and turns all those weeds into compost on the bottom of the lake. So to me, and from what I've talked to other people and the research I've done, we want a weed harvester. And I know I am, to some people in this town, I know that it seems like I am cursing, but it's really something we gotta talk about, just soberly, that this is an issue that.
Bill, I'm gonna make a strong suggestion that one guy you should go talk to is a guy named Douglas Bloom, who lives in Sheffield, who has his own weed harvester and takes care of Gilligan's Pond and has harvested that pond, dear friends of mine. He has that harvester I think it would be prudent, first thing, I'll give you his number, talk to him about that whole thing, because I know what it cost him. You're talking for a harvester, you're talking $100,000 for the harvester, not talking about running it, okay?
It's like
So,
150.
yeah, so I think the first thing is start with him. I don't know whether if he still has it, but that's a good, he's local. And they put it on a trailer and he moves it. So, I mean, it's a great start, because I know he's done it for the last 3 years.
Can I make a suggestion that Bill comes back to us next meeting with a letter for us to endorse to send to the Conservation Commission?
Well, I don't think we need a letter. I think Bill can say he'd like to make a motion that the Parks and Rec Commission supports the idea of better weed control on Lake Mansfield, and we want to know what you're gonna do about it.
Start this now, because, I mean, by next summer, let's think about this for next summer.
Go ahead, Alana.
But, what's the procedurally, what's the process for Bill getting in front of the Conservation Commission?
Well, he can ask to be on the agenda. I think it does carry a little more weight
It's a little club.
if he's representing the Parks Department.
So what is our responsibility if we want him to go on our behalf?
We're gonna, what I just said, we make a motion and say, we would like Bill to approach the Conservation Commission to ask what their plans are going forward with weed eradication on Lake Mansfield. Just ask the question. You don't-
So moved.
Second motion.
There you go. Okay, because as has already happened between Christine and Chris Rembold, it's like, oh, gosh.
And I'm not gonna ask tonight. I know there's a whole controversy about whether weed harvesters
Right, that's a whole nother problem.
promote things. I don't wanna know about it. That's not my,
Right.
just do something that works.
Well,
That's,
exactly. And you know something, nothing is perfect, but the fact of the matter is that, you know, if we start doing that, it's gonna be something that has to be done on a regular basis.
The chemical thing will be a hell of a lot more problematic because you have the Nan Wileys of the world who will be, I mean, we can't use pesticides and everything else, like the weed, I think there's only, you're right, it's either chemicals or weed harvesting.
But I suspect that we have a better chance of having some positive influence if the whole point is that we just wanna make sure that the lake is available for use for the whole community
course.
and that the problem needs to be solved and we're, you know, like, we don't necessarily need to be the ones that dictate the solution.
Exactly.
We just need to make sure that someone is working.
We need to poke the bear.
right,
That's
if the
what we need to do.
Conservation Commission has a third answer, Bill isn't talking,
Great.
great, as long as it works.
That's exactly right. And you know, so I think we have to include safety in that conversation because, you know,
That
it's one
is-
thing for use, but it's also like for safety of the people who use the lake.
Okay, so here's what I would suggest. We've made that motion and I'm gonna make the motion. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna ask Bill to draft the letter,
Ure.
okay? That includes safety and all the other stuff. Okay?
Yeah.
And if you would get that, how are we gonna do this? I don't wanna wait for another meeting.
You want me to just write a letter? I can send it to all you guys. Can we do that? That's not an open meeting.
That's an open meeting.
That's an open meeting law
You
violation.
could send it to us, but we can't act on it till the
Right,
next
so
meeting.
here, I mean,
It's November 8th, it's not that far away.
Right.
It's
so why don't you do that?
November 8th is the next meeting.
13th,
13th, sorry.
Gotta vote on the motion, though.
what's that?
That's a vote on.
I know that.
Okay.
I'm trying to get to I'm trying to make this all in one shot.
I think the 13th is fine, it's.
Okay,
Can I ask, have one more? I personally would like to have better information about the pros and cons of the chemical method versus the weed harvest.
Not our problem.
not our problem, Tom.
I mean, just so for my, well, if we're gonna vote,
That's a
For-
question for.
And not to be rude, Google it because it's not our problem.
but when our recommendation that,
We're not making a recommendation.
all right, so we're not.
We're
gonna-
saying, you guys, we know this is a problem. We know the weed is growing. What are you gonna do about it?
And if Bill wants to stay in the letter, we can discuss at the next meeting. The most logical one is weed harvesting, but it's your call. He can say that, and they can say, no, we disagree with you, but they're the experts in this. I have no expertise in weeds and
Yeah,
lice. Bill
so-
may have more than I.
All right, I'm gonna call the vote on
Well, I'm hoping. they-
I'm gonna call the vote on the motion of, let's get rid of the weeds. All right, all in favor? Aye, opposed, abstentions, it's unanimous. Carolyn, when Bill's got it ready, you'll type it up on our letterhead and make it pretty, okay? Thank you. Anything else?
It's the schedule.
Oh, yeah, look at the schedule. It has come between Mondays and Monday holidays and select board and everything else, I sent the schedule out. And it has been made, somebody thought it may be a great idea that we stop meeting on Mondays, then we meet on Tuesdays.
The other,
You,
the other choice. With Karen, I came up with these dates because
Right.
that's what would work.
yeah,
If you put in your calendar now and it works, that's fine. If it doesn't, we find another date to meet.
I just would like to not have to go through this insanity of, well, we can't meet Monday because of whatever. If you go, there's only 5 Mondays you can meet.
Well, in my mind, and it's only mine, is
That's the
this
most
is
dangerous part of the
electronic.
neighborhood.
You can all put this in your calendars and you know, a year ahead of time when we're meeting next October, you should be able to make it. But
Right.
if Tuesdays are bad for you all the time, then you're gonna miss
Speak
out
up.
of some of the meetings, then yeah, we should change it.
Tuesdays are hard.
Tuesdays are impossible.
Tuesdays are great.
So the problem is that if we don't have Mondays. There's a couple choices here. One is you continue to meet Mondays, you don't do it with a hybrid because the select board has the hybrid on many of those days. And you do it without me, which is not the end of the world, because I have to be at the select board meeting at least for 2 years, 2 more years, a year and a half. Or you find another night, you want to try to find a Wednesday night or something, but every night there's turf issues. Monday's probably the least because it's
We
only
already
select
established the
board.
term, yeah.
It's only select board, we established it, but there's holidays. And that,
But the other thing is that the hybrid. My personal feeling is I hate having if those people think that they want to come because of the hybrid and all well and good, but my concern is the committee.
We learned that it can be an in-person meeting and we can still let people come on Zoom.
Yeah, but if we do that, we can't be in this room.
so if we could not in this room, we don't have the capability to do that.
That's
If the
the
select
problem.
board's meeting that night,
Hmm.
they're in this room.
At the same time.
at
That's
same
the
time.
problem.
That, you're right about what you say, but like, and I'm a big advocate of hybrid because it gets more people to our meetings.
But
Are they at 5 o'clock too?
Select board are at 6 o'clock,
6.
but we don't finish by 6.
We never do.
And when you try to start earlier, like 4:30, jobs and family get in the way.
Yes, Paul.
I don't understand, if Mondays are a problem, I don't like this jumping around. I don't know why we just can't settle on one night and we have I don't really care about hybrid meetings, excuse me.
That's fine.
Because I happen to think that if you're in a democracy, you participate, and that means here. That doesn't mean sitting at home doing whatever else you're doing and attending a meeting. But, you know, that's my opinion. So why can't we just meet on Mondays? It doesn't have to be here. There's other places, there's the fire station. I don't know what kind of a schedule they have. So that may not work, but there's also the building down on South Main Street.
Well,
Same
there's
place.
places to meet.
Yeah, we used to meet in the library.
You can do all of those things. You can't do hybrid. And I will be one who you can't go Tuesdays, Mondays are bad for me. Because if it's a holiday week, the select board has already moved the things. If it's town meeting time of year, then they've taken the other to another Monday.
Select board meets every other week.
It's not, unfortunately, not that simple. Depends if there's a Monday holiday. So then
They confuse themselves.
we might meet the first and third, we might meet the second and fourth. The schedule's already out. It's
Yeah,
already
see,
been
they're
accepted
the
for the
fickle
year.
finger of fate. That's the problem.
Yeah. So I get it. I mean, Paul and I disagree on hybrid. I'm a big fan of it. But if you don't do hybrid, then you do have more, you can go to the fire station, you can go to the Whoosy Dome if you want. You could meet anywhere you want.
Could the select board meet like at 6:15?
Doesn't make any difference, Bill.
I
Sometimes
don't
we're
like
not.
to be constrained by a time.
You do get constrained and we sometimes get during special permits, 50 or 75 people at a meeting, so we open the doors a half hour early and
Right.
We used to meet at 5, right? What?
Doesn't make any difference.
yeah, 5 or 5:15 is still gonna. I love 5 or 5:15 better than 6, but
Yeah, well, 5 would work better for me, but I'm usually going somewhere after this meeting.
Okay, so here's the problem,
So,
boys and
that's just
girls.
me.
There's 7, 8, or 9 of us, and we're trying to find a way that everybody can be accommodated. I realize that Tuesday is tough for 2 or 3 people. Also, the other thing is my theory is, I don't care what day it is, but if you have it a year ahead of time, you need to make arrangements. You need to try to do the best you can do.
So this was created, you guys took a look at the select board and
Yeah.
the holiday
Yes.
meeting.
Yes.
And were any other options explored?
Like what?
Like, I don't know. I mean, Wednesdays, it's not great for me, but like.
No, Wednesday, it's
No.
So that's what I did, Alana, was just what we've been doing. Third Monday, and then if it wasn't the third Monday, what was the best time we could do it? It's just a suggestion. It's something for us to talk
It's
about.
not exhaustive. You didn't take a look at all.
No,
of the
we had
Mondays.
other things we were.
Oh,
thinking
yeah,
about.
well, I did take did I look at like first Mondays? No, and we could do that,
I mean,
but that would mean sometimes meeting like 2 weeks in a row, like meeting the third Monday and
And
then
then-
the first Monday.
Yeah,
And I'm not sure how much we'd get done, but
but it would shorten our meetings and we might get more concise and more.
then the next meeting could be 6 weeks away.
yeah, it doesn't,
Yeah.
it
I'm
doesn't.
not saying I won't do it, whatever you guys want.
Yes, Sir Debbie.
If we are keeping the schedule, I know that February 20th is school vacation
And
week,
the
so-
April week is too.
Yeah, so I know that at least the three of us might not be available.
People with children, it's always been the problem.
But I just wanna throw it out there.
So that, for instance, let's just look at that. We could meet either February 5th, and I'm not saying we need to decide tonight, the first Monday. Or we could meet the 13th, which is the second Tuesday. We could move all that. I didn't take into account school vacation
Yeah.
because I don't have kids and.
Could we just do the first Monday every month?
No, this is where you get into trouble. Anytime we want to legislate the first Monday, sometimes you're butt up against the selectmen.
So let's say this year.
Sometimes it's a holiday.
But
Two thousand twenty-three, December 4th, Monday, the first Monday select board meets because of Christmas, they meet the first and third. January 1st this year is obviously New Year's, that's the first Monday. Then the next Monday, the select board meets, the Monday after that's Martin Luther King Day, Monday after that, the select board meets.
For one, I'll make this work. I'll do whatever I can. I'll cancel stuff.
If you tell me which two to move
No, but
because of the school
yeah,
vacation, I'd be glad to.
February and April, I think, have to be moved. So those first school vacation.
But also, would this not be an appropriate time to enlist ChatGPT and just input the select board's calendar and input the holiday calendar and make a suggestion?
Who,
That-
what?
Really? I
Who's
think I can handle that without
ChatGPT?
needing ChatGPT.
And school vacation too.
Wow.
Yeah, I
Oh,
mean,
Jesus
I
Christ.
love that.
why not?
First of all, on it, there are either 4 or 5 Mondays in a month, if I do a Monday. So I think I can do this myself without having to go to artificial
Of
intelligence.
course you can. But why would you? I mean, like, it's.
Because I have no life. Okay, if you want the answer.
Oh, we can talk about that.
Okay,
I can work with that schedule.
Okay.
and it's February and April, is that what you
Yeah,
said?
that's the
I'll come
problem.
back November with
Now,
February and
let's
April.
put it this way.
Yeah.
Sir Debbie says, and Alana said, that February and April are problems, okay? So I just want that publicly stated that they said these are problems because of vacation week, and I'm good for it.
Yeah.
February,
Well,
I don't give a flying fatata, because I'm in Kenya, so you can have that meeting whenever you want.
Yeah,
As
so
long as we can accommodate the chickens, I guess.
We can move February's from the 20th.
Steve, you're gonna work on it, you're gonna come back in November with it, okay?
We're not doing 1 week earlier, and I'll be happy. It's a Tuesday still, but it's
Well, can we do it on the 12th?
12th is the select board meeting.
Well, we could do it on the 5th.
We could do it on the 5th. And that would be, 3 weeks, or the meeting before that's the 16th.
Thank God the Red Sox aren't in the playoffs. That's the only reason this is gonna get done,
Or the Yankees. Good.
or the Yankees.
So I'll play around with February.
Is there anything else other than February
I won't
and
be here in January.
we don't give a shit about that? So we'll just go February and March,
February
okay?
and April.
February and April,
February
okay.
and April, I got that.
Okay, hold on, I don't know the April.
If the select
I
board
just
met
said that.
less
Yeah.
times, there would be less problems in the town.
That's probably right. Okay, now that we've done all that, is there any citizen that, no, is there any citizen that would like to speak? James, you got something you wanna say?
Just raise your hand if you do. If you don't, that's fine.
Good.
I'm not done yet. Now it's committee speak. Go for it. Sir Debbie? Julie? All of your equipment, ladies, is ordered. I was there when it was ordered.
Oh, I do have a question. When should we start talking about, Dewey Park?
Not now. I would strongly suggest that I would look at, probably in just November, December, you can start bringing that up. We can talk about it in December and January. Okay,
They could work on it based on the public input, and get your thoughts together.
I mean, just based on last month's meeting, I think there's a lot to.
well, why don't you guys get started? And then you can come, I mean, you're gonna sort of sort all this information and get it so it's palatable, like Bill and Tom are gonna sort of deal with the soccer stuff and then get it to us. So I think if you guys wanna start chewing on that, go for it. Okay, Bill,
No, it's all good.
so you're, all you wanna know about was weeds. Tom,
Good.
Alana? Good.
Yep, I'm okay.
Mr. Bannon?
I'm excellent.
Okay, just so you know, I want to make this a public statement. The amount of work that has been done by the DPW and the crew, if you look around this town, not only the streets, but the parks and all of the plantings. In the 40 years I've lived here, never has this place looked any better. And I personally want to thank you and your department for all the work you do. Big time.
Patty already.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
You want to stop, Paul? And I'm out, say no, say bye-bye. Don't do that.
He still addresses me as Mr. Gibbons.
Yeah, but that's all right, so he's polite. Yeah, we'll have an emotion to do that. Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second, all in favor, goodbye. Thank you very much.